Stop number one today is St Patrick's Cathedral, the oldest cathedral in Dublin. I've made my way inside and found out that this was built in the 5th century, so it's around 1500 years old. This is the Door of Reconciliation from 1492. It's the same year that Columbus sailed to America. This door helped settle a feud here in Dublin. And what happened was two families were basically at war. One of them, fearing that they were going to lose, took sanctuary inside this church, knowing that the others couldn't come in and fight them. Eventually, long story cut short, they decided to reconcile their differences with a handshake, but they couldn't open the door because if they did, they were scared that they might get pulled outside. So what they did is they cut this hole in the door so that they could shake hands through the hole. One of the feuding families put their arm through the door and said, either shake my hand or cut it off, and they ended up shaking hands. So as legend have it, that was how the very popular Irish saying of "to chance your arm" was born. This is the ladies' chapel. It's behind the main altar, and apparently it was quite standard to build a smaller chapel behind the main altar of many churches in memory of the Virgin Mary. Okay, I've switched to the GoPro. This is super wide view. So this should give a better perspective of just how big this place is. Right, well, St Patrick's Cathedral got really busy there towards the end, but it was really interesting to see it. I'm now heading back into the centre of Dublin, hopefully catch a walking tour of the south side of the river, which is where I am now, but I haven't really done any exploring in that area yet. Well, perfect timing. I'm back here for 11 o'clock. Looks like the yellow umbrellas of the tour guides are over there. Heading over onto the south side, that's where this tour focuses on. I think it's going to be a good one. The tour guide knows his stuff and he speaks very well, so it should be really interesting. He's already told us that Dublin was the largest settlement of Vikings outside of Scandinavia. So we're heading now towards the River Liffey. We're going to cross it and then start exploring the south side. This is the Daniel O'Connell statue, which is at the beginning of O'Connell Street. The reason it's called O'Connell Street, the main street really here in Dublin.
And he believed more about maybe...
Daniel O'Connell was famous for being the person that tried to win back some of the rights of the Irish people from British rule. So things like being able to use the Irish language, being able to indulge in Irish culture, not to forget, of course, trying to re-legalise the Catholic religion, which had been outlawed by Queen Elizabeth I. Right, so we're just heading into Trinity College. So you'd be mistaken for thinking we're in Cambridge at the moment. This was built under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I under British rule in 1592. And some very famous authors came and studied here. Oscar Wilde, Samuel Beckett and Bram Stoker, the writer of Dracula. All of them ended up living overseas because of the censorship that was enforced in Dublin by the Catholic Church. But as I said, you really would think, just whilst we're in this area of the university, that we've left Dublin. This is the former Arsenal, right next to the former House of Commons and House of Lords, I think he said, which were similar to the ones in Westminster, but these ones didn't have total power. They were just there to manage Irish affairs. He just spoke as well about the Irish potato famine of 1845. Basically, the potato famine was a bacterial disease that spread through all the potato crops in 1845 and basically wiped out all of the potato crop in the country. And essentially what that meant, lots and lots of people, 1.25 million starving to death. 2.5 million managed to make it to Dublin because there was no food outside the city. What happened was they, having arrived at Dublin, realised there was no food here either and ended up travelling across the Atlantic to places in America and Canada. So Chicago, New York, Toronto, Quebec, Boston for a new life, essentially. So we're now heading towards the Temple Bar area of the city. So we've left Temple Bar, we're now heading towards the castle.
What's interesting is, this is where the British occupation of Ireland began. This is where the British occupation of Ireland finished. Because on the 16th of January 1922, this is where the handover ceremony took place, when Britain hands control of Ireland back to the Irish.
Well, we just finished the tour, very well delivered by the tour guide. I'm just standing outside St Patrick's Cathedral again as I pass it. Gonna head towards my next stop now, which is the Guinness factory, which is tied in quite nicely with this place because the Guinness family paid for this cathedral's restoration.